Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today and for giving us your time to learn about this amazing project. Please feel free to post any questions that you might have for our panel, and we'll allow time at the end to address them. So my name is Karen Lignon. I serve as the program manager for the Honoring Our Ancestors, Protecting Our Future project, which is a traffic safety training designed for Native American youth and is offered by the School of Public Health at UCSD's TREDS department in collaboration with many Native partners and stakeholders. You're about to hear about our journey to create this training and, more importantly, why it is so needed. You will hear from collaborators, peer trainers, community leaders, as well as see excerpts actually from the training featuring the elders from San Diego's Native community. You will also hear all about the contributors, including the artists, one of which created the beautiful design that's behind myself and Alexa. California has one of the largest Native American populations in the country. This was something I did not know until I started working on this project. With approximately 12% of the total U.S. Native American population residing within the state. In addition, California has the largest number of distinct tribes in any U.S. state. Within California, San Diego County has 18 distinct tribal nations, the most of any U.S. county. Due to the disproportionate risk of motor vehicle death and injury among Native American populations, it is crucial for our state to achieve a better understanding of the factors contributing to this threat and develop some mitigation strategies that are appropriate for our diverse community. Together, we will learn how this unique program was developed through innovative collaboration and funding from the Office of Traffic Safety, for which we are extremely grateful. And now I'd like to introduce Che Lowry as our co-presenter and the executive director of the Indigenous Futures Institute, which is located also in the School of Public Health at UCSD. Che hails from the Yurok tribe in Northern California and has been an invaluable resource for this project, always giving of his time, and he is an amazingly compelling storyteller. Please take it away, Che, for us.
Oh, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Great.
Yeah, you sound great.
Such a privilege to be here with such distinguished presenters and guests, and thank you to everyone. So it is my honor to introduce Council Member Lori Gonzalez, who is going to do a welcome and a land acknowledgement. Since 2011, Council Member Gonzalez has served for multiple terms as a Rincon Tribal Council member. She is the vice chair of the Intertribal Court of Southern California's Judicial Review Board, and she has served on the Culture Committee since 1997. She has a long background in corporate America with Caesars Entertainment and in the nonprofit world. She is a very valued member of our advisory group. I've had the privilege of listening to her speak, and thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, for being here today.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and this is so important, but I want to start us off as every gathering should start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional and unceded lands of the First Peoples, which includes the Payom-Kawitcham, the people of the West, the Kumeyaay, and all other First Nation people who have walked these lands since time began. We recognize that these lands were taken through violence, forced removal, broken treaties, as part of a broader history of colonization and genocide against Indigenous people. Despite these injustices, tribal nations remain resilient. We maintain our culture, our language, and our sovereignty. We honor our ancestors, their struggles, and their ongoing presence, which we all feel. We commit to learning, taking action, and supporting Indigenous communities by amplifying their voices here today, advocating for their rights and our rights, and working together towards justice and reconciliation. Let
you
those
so
words
much.
sink in.
Thank you so much for that, Councilmember Gonzalez. So now it's my privilege to introduce the rest of the panel. Dr. Linda Hill serves as director of the TREADS department that's located within the School of Public Health at UCSD. TREADS stands for Transportation Research and Education for Driving Safety. Dr. Hill is the Associate Dean for Community Partnerships of the School of Public Health and School of Medicine at UCSD. And in her spare time, what is that, Linda? Spare time for you? You do so much. She sees patients at a local federally qualified healthcare center, among many other endeavors. Next, we have Sheriff John Balow, is a crime prevention specialist stationed at the Valley Center substation. He educates the public and schools and businesses on crime trends with presentations and at community events. And very, very happy to have you here, Sheriff. Next is good family friend of mine and colleague, Alexa Casanova, is a community organizer, and she serves as the project coordinator for this project and a couple of other health-related projects at the School of Public Health. Next is Priscilla Ortiz Sawa. She is one of our 4 peer trainers. Priscilla is amazing, multi-talented. She is from the Ipe Nation of Santa Isabel and works as a youth leader for the California Indian Manpower Consortium. And how this program came about, we have some kind of a neat little history written here, but I wanted to share the story between myself and Dr. Hill. It was probably about a little over 2 years ago when we were talking as colleagues in a group meeting, and I mentioned a sad fact. I had lost a family friend of mine up in Northern California in a car accident. And I talked about how, our reservations and the rancherias throughout most of the state are just located in really isolated rural communities. And most every Native person I know is impacted by, traffic fatalities or injuries. And it was unfortunate because that same week that my friend lost his life in an accident, there were 2 members of the local Native community here in San Diego that had also perished in car accidents. And so it was really a hard thing to share and talk about. But what Linda did is she didn't just listen. She listened with kindness and empathy, but then she took it upon herself to take an action and to talk about integrating the Native experience on our road systems and create this project. So then we met with a good friend, Johnny Bear Contreras. Johnny and I have worked at Comic-Con for the last half decade, among other projects. But Johnny is someone very special to our School of Public Health in that he gives his kind advice and is a good sounding board. And he also talked about, his experience on road systems and his family experience. And so from those conversations, we looked at the data. We kind of looked around and saw the amazing community members that we could connect with. And Linda and her team then constructed this program. Linda, do you want to share a little bit?
Oh, thanks so much, Jagan. Thanks for having me here and joining my wonderful team. I, I just want to put traffic safety into the sort of public health context. We used to call traffic crashes accidents, but no longer. We now acknowledge that crashes have very distinct causes, both behavioral and environmental, just like other public health problems like smoking and lung cancer and vaccines and vaccine preventable diseases. They're a very straightforward path. As Chake mentioned, we had noticed that the crash rate in and around San Diego reservations was worryingly high, just unacceptable. We know that some of this is related to poor road conditions and also exacerbated by having to go, in some cases, long distances from the reservations to basic services. But as Alexa's going to present, we also asked the community, well, what else is going on? What else is contributing to traffic crashes? And they told us that impairment, distraction, and speeding are all significant problems that they think are contributing. So when we designed the program, we wanted to keep what the community was telling us in mind and hope that our joint efforts towards addressing these behaviors will mitigate some of the tragedies that are associated with traffic crashes. And all of you are a part of that. And I thank you very much for being here and to my team.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. And I do want to mention that we have a couple of other amazing part of our team. Thank you to Liz Kelly, who's helping out with the tech. That's to me, I'm so tech and Chag don't often go hand in hand. So I appreciate you for doing that. And then Ethan Wolf is here and Allison Richardson. Ethan is a current student and works in local health. And Allison is a graduate from UCSD. She's also the amazing co-chair of our brand new Native and Indigenous Alumni Council at UCSD. So thank you both for being here too. And then now, I'll hand it off. We're in such good hands with Alexa Casanova, who really leads the outreach for this team among local tribal communities for this work.
Halka, hello everyone. I'm Alexa Casanova. I'm from the Sample Squad Band of Mission Indians, as well as Hispanic from Mexico City. I am honored to be a part of this project. I hold this project very close to my heart because, like many other young adults my age, we have all witnessed or experienced the loss of a family member or friend on tribal roads. And this work is very important, and it's very important to educate natives and non-natives about the infrastructure of the roads and what is needed in order to make our tribal communities a safer place. So why this program is needed? American Indian youth experience a disproportionate rate of traffic injuries and fatalities locally and nationally. This program combines interview clips and other data to train youth on driver safety. Youth are given regional and national data points throughout the presentation. Throughout the presentation as they relate to the topics covered. This next video, which also is included in the youth training, will have elders discuss their experiences with fatal crashes on tribal land. When we play this video for the youth, we state there's a warning ahead of time and we take a moment of silence at the end to honor the lives lost on our roads. So the warning is, in this video, tribal leaders discuss loss of life due to traffic crashes, and it's okay to mute or step out if you need to.
I lost a cousin who was drinking and driving. I think she was turning 21 or 22 the week after. LaHunt Destiny Rose Muse, I love you. But yeah, so, her family misses her. We miss her so much. So, you got to think about those things whenever you get in the car. And even if you're not the one driving, never get into a car with someone who has been drinking also. That's a huge thing too. You think you're doing the right thing because, oh, I'm not the one driving, so nothing's gonna happen because you're messed up. But you don't know how the other person's feeling when they get behind the wheel. They can easily just say, I'm good. And it doesn't take that long for an accident to happen.
So it's important to take care of our community and watch out for one another. I myself was witnessed a young tribal member lose his life. I watched him lose his life and was first on the scene at that time, and was definitely impacted his loved ones and the community members around. People that loved him were deeply affected and saddened by his loss. And it's very, very important to drive safe on the road. It could save your life. It could save whoever's riding with you. It could save their life, and it could save your family a lot of hurt and pain. Don't go down that road. Be safe.
I've had some friends killed on the grade down to Rincon from South Squaw, where they didn't know what to do, lost control, and one would stay in the car and the other one jumped out, and he's the one that actually got killed. Been a few accidents like that, and again, that was from drinking and driving too fast on the narrow, winding roads. They're dangerous. You got to slow down.
And hearing about all the accidents in Rincon, we have our church bell that rings whenever somebody passes away. And usually within a couple hours of hearing that bell, you'll hear who it was that passed away and why. And for a lot of times, a lot of those church bells ringing was my own family members, and having to hear that they were in a car accident the night before, or they were in a motorcycle accident the night before.
I have been in several accidents. And my dad was a policeman. He made sure I understood the rules of the road and that I was very safe. But it happens sometimes. None of them were ever my fault. I can honestly say that. Did I get hurt? Yes. But it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse if I had not been following the rules of the road myself.
I lost a cousin who was drinking.
So our next slide here is respecting Indigenous knowledge. So this slide basically goes over our copyright language, which can be found on all platforms and instances where the interviews are shared. Thanks to Che Lowry, we have implemented this acknowledgement into the UCSD system. The video is at the very beginning of the traffic safety presentation the youth are given. Yes. And this is our way of respecting Indigenous knowledge and our way of letting our voices be heard and not exploited.
Alexa, we can't hear it.
It's playing on my computer. Were you able to hear the previous videos?
Yes, we just can't hear this one.
I didn't do anything differently.
It's okay.
Okay. There's a beautiful flute in the background by Little Wolf, who is a Sampa flautist. Yeah. So, this next slide shows the importance of sharing the true history of, specifically in this slide, San Diego County and reservations, as well as when our interstate was built and the timeline showing exactly how disproportionate and how it led to high traffic exposure on native reservations today. So in the orange, you will see the establishments of reservations in San Diego County. And on the black dots, you'll see the advancement of roads from traditional trails to today's traffic. So as you see in the pre-1700s, there was early indigenous trails. 1769, Spanish missions in El Camino Real formalized regional routes. Between 1769 and 1885, around 1875, there were 7 tribes established. That was the Grande Band of Digueño Mission Indians, which were later split into Barona and Viejas, the La Jolla Band of Luceño Indians, the Paula Band of Mission Indians, the Pama Band of Luceño Indians, the Rincon Band of Luceño Indians, Sequan Band of the Kumeyaay Nation, Viejas Band of Kumeyaay Indians, which were originally a part of the Grande Band of Digueño. And in 1885, rail connection to San Diego reshapes trade and travel. So that's when our trains started coming through San Diego. Right after 1885, between 1891 and 1893, we had the establishment of Mesa Grande Band of Digueño Mission Indians, as well as Campo. I have a hard time saying this one. Priscilla, could you help me? She's our language specialist here.
Oh, Weapipe.
Weapipe, yes. Band of Kumeyaay Indians, the Ipai Nation of Santa Isabel, La Posta Band of Digueño Mission Indians, Los Coyotes Band of Cahuilla and Cupeño Indians, Manzanita Band of Digueño Mission Indians, and Santa Isabel Band of Digueño Mission Indians. And afterwards, 1900, auto trails begin. That's our the US 80, the Old Spanish Trail, and these all follow historical corridors. Now, in between 1900 and 1956, we had the development of the rest of the San Diego tribes. We had the San Pascual Band of Digueño Mission Indians, Hamul Indian Village, and also we had Barona Band of Mission Indians created, and that again branched off the Grande Band of Digueño Mission Indians. Later, afterwards, after all the establishments of our reservations, they then created the federal interstate era based off of our ancestral trails. Later, 1988, we had Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, known as IGRA. And afterwards, 1990s to 2000s, we had casino development, which increased non-native traffic on tribal roads. And today we have high traffic exposure and underfunded safety infrastructure on tribal lands. So this shows in black and orange, not black and white, the establishment of our roads and trails and how they were branched off of ancestral trails. So it's very important. Our next video is in the presentation as well. We have Elder Bobby Wallace and elders from San Diego Native communities, and they go over the history of San Diego and the ancestral trails.
Okay, my name is Bobby
And
Wallace from the Barona Band of Mission Indians and from the Kumeyaay Nation. So on the other side of this is Blossom Valley, where Highway 8 is, Kumeyaay Highway. They also use this over there as another trail system. So this right here, the San Diego River, connects to a lot of trail systems, as does the Sweetwater Reservoir, which San Miguel Mountains over there, the Sweetwater Reservoir runs along it. That was a major trail system from the waters in Campo. And then you got the Tijuana River, which is also another trail system. Then you go more to your north, which is the San Alejo, which is the Escondido, I think it's the Escondido River, and it goes even further north. Our people traveled up and through here, up and around, all the way around to the desert. They knew where to go. They picked along the sides of the river, and they had everything they needed. As they went across over into the desert through this water source, they followed the water. They would build little dams upstream, and that would be their water source. When they would get to the desert, the Colorado River was so wide and so huge at one time. They also used that for a food source. They would gather, they would hunt, and they would take things as they needed.
You know, seasonally, Kumeyaay people, Paramquecham people, or Kuya people, they were all nomadic, and our systems of travel was definitely based off of weather patterns. If it was, you know, hot, we go towards the ocean. When it gets cold in times like that, you know, the ice starts turning over, we'd go over to the desert where it's warmer. And we'd continue traveling around however we needed to in order to be around those areas that could provide for us.
Well, I don't know much about the old trails, just some of the stories I've heard from like my great-great-grandfather. You know, he actually had a horse and buggy, and that's what he used from the original reservation, San Pasqual Valley, to go to and from town. And later on, you know, it was cars and dirt roads. As I was young, I'd go out there with my dad once in a while, and it was far and few between, but mostly dirt roads.
You know, a lot of these road rules that we have, they're not built to recognize the reservations and the rural areas that we come from. Driving around in Southern California, you know, in a 2-hour trip, you can be driving in downtown San Diego, cruising through the 15 freeway where there's 4 lanes of traffic. And then the next 30 minutes, you can find yourself going down the windy roads of Palomar Mountain or even Valley Center Grade right here.
In order for us to get from different reservations, there was always the back roads, and they were already pretty much paved, but really narrow roads. Sometimes you'd come to a 4-way stop, and there was no stop signs. There was just basically look that way, look over there, and okay, let's go. You know, things like that.
It was a dirt road coming from not the road we're using now. We used to go the other way, and oh my God, when it rained, that car would just slide down.
You find them flying down the road and actually getting in accidents, and because again, it wasn't wide enough. It was just a road. It was just an access road. So the dangers in that were it wasn't paved and there was no stop signs to this day.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Looks like things got a little jumbled here. So I'm gonna go back here. So why culture matters in traffic safety. Local roadways are located on ancestral Kumeyaay and Pyoka trail systems. There is still cultural knowledge that guides how Native people should responsibly travel in this region. Local elders and historians have been interviewed to share this knowledge, as you've seen. Shared beliefs shape the way we drive, the way we react, and how we stay safe on the road. And the project development considered the role culture plays in protecting drivers, passengers, and pedestrians. Indigenous knowledge as a valid form of evidence for inclusion is recognized and encouraged as best strategy throughout federal policy. So We had an interview process on how we chose to interview. We had a native videographer. There was a signed agreement about the indigenous knowledge copyright information you just saw on on previous slides. So in the first year, we actually went out into the community and did talking circles with local Native youth from several reservations where we held an assessment and asked the youth what the biggest traffic safety concerns in their community were. The community input was essential to this project. We also formed a consortium with local tribal reservations, leaders, education centers, as well as our Sheriff John from Valley Center Sheriff Department. And when these surveys were gathered, that then gave us the curriculum that we created from our community. We asked the community again, what do you see as the biggest traffic risk in your community? And this is what the community told us they wanted us to focus on. So 98% of youth said impaired driving was a huge concern. 88% selected speeding, as well as distracted driving, and 49% selected pedestrian safety, as you can see in this graph that Karen created for us. And this art here was done by one of our local artists, Seth, saying the data doesn't lie, we can do better. The topics covered, as I said before, we had speeding, distracted driving, driving under the influence, and pedestrian safety. And these were some of the images we had local artists come up with to represent those topics. Now, I'll give you a few seconds to look at them, the detail. Okay, so San Diego County, as we said before, is territory of the Kumeyaay, Pyoka Witcham, some Cupeño, and Cahuilla natives. And there are 18 tribal nations, including those four. And so we really wanted to deliver this to all of San Diego County tribes, as well as in the future to our extended family in Riverside County and the Yurok Nation and up north. And I believe all California tribes should receive this education. We are reaching out to local tribal and native serving partners. We're looking to collaborate with schools in higher education. We are looking to collaborate with public health and government, and as well as tribal leadership, elders, youth and families, and community health representatives. In this photo, this is one of our first cohorts of graduates from our curriculum. So they do receive a certificate at the end of the presentation. These are some local youth from San Pasqual. And our age range we are focusing on specifically for this term, our age is 16 to 24, so high school drivers and young adults. This is our peer trainer model. So as you see on this slide, we have 4 peer trainers representing nations here in San Diego County. We have Priscilla Ortiz Sawa from the Ipai Nation of Santa Isabel. And we have Allison Richardson from the Viejas Band of Kumeyaay Indians. We have Alexis Trevino. She's in high school, so she could not make it today, but she is also from the San Pasqual Band of Degeno Mission Indians. And we also have Ethan Wolf, who is from the La Jolla Band of Luceño Indians, as well as the Navajo Nation. So when peers train peers, knowledge becomes lived wisdom, not just information, but transformation. It's a proven model that works in multiple research organizations, and yeah, we see this work very well with Indigenous youth because Indigenous youth love to hear from one another. That is how we learn. We learn from our people, our elders, and the leaders in our community. And as you see on the bottom left, this is the certificate of completion that our students receive. Our next video will be our call to action video for the youth. This is also a video seen in the last portion of our training.
Well, just the role of community and the whole sense of it, being together as a community, looking out for each other, that's all cultural, yeah, to look out for one another. We're all here, we're all family, we're all going to take care of each other. So that's the cultural aspect of it all. When you implement that way of thinking, and then things get more safe around here for community members. Members are more likely wanting to run on the road, walk their kids on the road, and create a safe environment for your community.
Drive slow and be aware and don't drink. And that was a big problem in them days. They'd be talking, they'd be drinking, and there was potential for some pretty critical accidents, which there was a lot.
And like I said previously, our people knew what to pack with them. They knew what to bring with them. So again, just being mindful during the seasons. If it's looking icy out, we all look out our bedroom windows and you can see the ice covering the grass and everything. Be mindful. And also just taking care of the supplies that you need to bring you to and fro, letting your car warm up, getting those oil changes. That's what we could use.
One of the things about driving is such huge responsibility. Culturally, we prepared our children to take on roles as productive young adults in our society. We need to have that same cultural sensitivity when it comes to getting them on the road as licensed drivers. They need to be respectful of Mother Earth and the environment and watch out for not just the animals, but the other environmental factors, the road, when it's wet. These are the things that we taught them before we had cars. When it's raining, the river may overflow, you be careful. Same thing applies today. Make them aware of all their surroundings and to drive gently on the earth like they would walk gently. I mean, things change, but our cultural ways don't.
You're not cool because you drive fast and you're driving reckless, and it may look cool, but you could end your life, you can end someone else's life that way. So just drive responsibly. Don't get too close to others. Like I said, I learned all of these things because I was a young driver. I got my permit when I was 16. So learn from my mistakes. You don't have to copy me exactly. And make sure you wear a seatbelt. That's a huge thing, a huge thing. I had people from my community who are no longer here, unfortunately, because they weren't driving, but they were in the passenger seat and they weren't wearing their seatbelt. So that's a huge thing. Wear your seatbelt.
So community members out there, youngsters, middle-aged adults, be safe on the road, take care of your community, watch out for one another, and create a safe environment for your community members.
Telling the stories of the truth. And the truth is, we traveled this place for so many years. This is our territory. We've been here, we never left. It was taken from us, we never signed it away. These are the things we have to keep intact, or we will lose it.
So far we've reached, I think our number has increased, but we'll go based off of this information, 44 participants. It has increased since then. And this is the feedback we're getting from students. So 95% of the students plan to reduce their distracted driving. 93% expressed confidence they would not drive impaired. 93% said they would not ride with an impaired driver. 95 understood the importance of having a plan to get home safely, and 86% would take action to stop someone else from driving impaired. 95% learned how to stay safe as a pedestrian, and 85% were very satisfied with the training. So our results speak for themselves. Yes, so we'll go ahead and continue for the sake of time. And I wanted to introduce our artists. I may not have time to read everything about each artist, but I will go ahead and try. So Tiffany Wolf, I'll start on the far right. She actually designed the logo ahead of time. So in our planning stages, we reached out to Tiffany Wolf. She's Navajo and Lakota, and she's married into La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians. And she is a multimedia digital artist and fashion designer whose work centers on Indigenous storytelling, cultural memory, and contemporary visual expression. We have Sequoia Redbird to the left, and he's from the Sampasqual Reservation. He says being an artist isn't just a hobby, it's a way of living, and he expresses his ideologies and passions through creative expressions, and he is always creating something. To the left of Sequoia, we have Matthew Dominguez. He's Chumash Chicano. He spent a lot of time in the Kumeyaay Nation. He's an artist that specializes in acrylic and digital illustrations focused on Indigenous empowerment. His first mural was painted in 2020 in an LA City electrical box, and since then he's painted over 75 murals all over Southern California with a nonprofit, and all of his work is Indigenous based. Then we also have our local artist, Liana Hill, on the far left. She's from the Ipai Nation of Santa Isabel. Her art is deeply influenced by cultural heritage, explores identity representations, and cultural memory through illustration, design, and community-based projects. And now I'll hand over the webinar to Karen, and she can go over the next few slides.
Thank you so much, Alexa, for that wonderful recap and the wonderful presentation. She really brought home many of the details that are in our presentation. We hope that you have youth that you're working with that will be interested in signing up for it. And as we hear from our consortium members, it's not just Native youth that need this presentation. It's anyone who drives on Native land. And I have learned that firsthand. I've been driving a lot more on reservation property since I've been working on this project. And it is very true. It's a very different way of driving than driving in the city. I'm such a city girl. I had to get used to it. So I hope that you will encourage all of your youth to take this project and this training. So we've already spent some time introducing our panel. Just to go through once again, we have a few questions for them, and then we'll take questions from the audience as well. And I know that Chig mentioned that we also have our 2 additional peer trainers with us today. So we have 3 of our 4 peer trainers with us. Dr. Hill is still with us. I know she has to run off fairly soon. She has another engagement. And then Sheriff John. And also I'm going to start with a question to our esteemed council member Gonzalez. So Lori, can you tell us what is the biggest misconception people have about traffic safety in tribal communities?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions for outsiders, is that we don't have any rules. We don't have any safety laws in place. They can come on our tribal land, and that's become more prominent with gaming. So we've got people coming onto our reservations, and they think, well, I can speed, I can drink and drive, I can and do almost anything because there's no rules, there's no laws, and that is absolutely not true. As a council member here at Rincon, our job is judicial, executive, and administrative. We create ordinances, we create laws that quite often mirror exactly the traffic laws outside of the reservation. Plus, the other thing that they don't understand is if you have a highway or county maintained road running through, the laws still apply there. And to be honest, it's not always just the outsiders. Our kids think, well, I don't need to wear a helmet. because I'm on the res. And that's not true as well. So one of the things that we do is make sure that our people understand. And while we don't have a police department, we have security. And they will give out citations to anyone traveling on our roads that's not obeying our laws. So we make sure at least our tribal members know there are rules. If you go without a helmet, they're going to, security's going to give you a citation and you're going to have to go to intertribal court and deal with that. That's a way to keep them safe. And while they hate it, they need to understand that, you know what? Sometimes you don't get a second chance when you make a mistake when you're in a vehicle. It is a weapon. It's either going to hurt you or someone else. So we really, really work at letting our kids know we're not being mean. We're not trying to take your fun away. You're our future. You're our promise for tomorrow. So, we always preface it with that.
Thank you so much. And segueing on that, I'd like to go to Sheriff John, and maybe you can help us a little bit and tell us what are the most common causes of crashes that you see on tribal land?
Okay, so most of the time it has to do with like what your stats were saying, under the influence of something, or actually driving unsafely, even with the conditions. So for instance, it rains and just about everybody does this, but they drive unsafely for the conditions. And being that a lot of these roads, as we had mentioned, are not well lit, windy, especially up here in the center area. And that's a big problem. Distracted driving is constant. It doesn't matter if you're on the reservation or not, but definitely going through the native lands, especially, I think people get overcome with sometimes the beauty, the scenery, and they're not paying attention to what they're doing on their cell phones, or they're calling, or just distracted with the people in the cars. Obviously, what we had talked about is the gaming. We have a lot of people coming to the reservations and the native lands that aren't used to the area. They are not familiar with it, and maybe they're excited, not excited, or under the influence of something, and then they're driving, again, not safe and not paying attention. Most of the fatalities are going to be not wearing the seatbelts. And then definitely with some things that I see is a lot of the side-by-sides driving around and kind of going really fast, and not thinking about the rules of the road. And as we had mentioned, Councilmember had mentioned about the road, it's a highway. So the highway patrol and law enforcement, they can enforce those laws. And I think people forget that. And, they've lived their whole life, but now all of a sudden they have a, 3,000-pound weapon on their hands, and they forget about that. Definitely not wearing the helmets is a big, big problem. I see that quite a bit. So that's my input for that, at least.
And for a city girl like me, can you explain side-by-sides?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So they're basically like, the easiest way of explaining it, they're kind of like souped up dune buggies, but they're made for off-roading. So 2 people can sit in it, 4 people as well. They do have seatbelts in them, but people don't wear them, or they go very fast on them, or driving kind of like if they'd be out in like the sand dunes or the desert where there's open space. But unfortunately, with pedestrians walking and a lot of different vehicles going around, it becomes very unsafe. So that's what a side-by-side is. Yeah. They're
Thank
fun.
you so much. I didn't realize that's what they were called. Thank you so much. I do see that Dr. Hill is still here. Are you available to take a question, Dr. Hill? Maybe not. Okay, let me move on. So next question is for one of our peer trainers. I'll start with Priscilla. What has been your experience as a peer trainer, and how are audiences reacting to the training, Priscilla?
My experience has been really eye-opening. Ooh, I was trying not to get emotional, but it's very healing. I had lost my aunt in a car accident when I was young, and so I had to watch my cousin grow up without a mom, and my mom grow up without her older sister. And being an older sister, I know how important it is to have that presence there, to have that guidance. And um, my whole life I always dedicate some part of my life to my family, and I always thought, well, what's my dedication going to be to Aunt Jen? What is it? And then this opportunity came around, and I was like, that's it. Creator wants me to share this knowledge and reach our youth with it so that, other people don't lose their sisters, other kids don't lose their mom before it's time. So I've been able to kind of have that opportunity of just generational healing and sharing, and then also just personally being a better driver. So I'm not on my phone as much now that I give this presentation a lot. I'm like, come on, snap into it. You got to practice what you preach. So it's been really nice, really eye-opening, really healing. And I think from the few presentations I've done, the kids are taking it really well. It is pretty long, so we are trying to find some ways to keep them busy, keep them crafty while we're giving them this knowledge, but they do resonate with it. And I think, sharing these stories of like, the church bells, witnessing accidents from motorcycles and stuff, like they grew up with that. So seeing it in a presentation also, I can't think of the word, but like kind of solidifies their experience, makes it something that, they're not going through it alone. They know that, the other 17, 18 reservations are also experiencing this and that there's action needed to be taken. So, the kids are taking it humbly, and I think it's really setting them up to get their license in a good way.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. And Priscilla is just one of our wonderful trainers, as you can tell. The kids really resonate with her. And Allison or Ethan, if you have anything to add, we'd love to hear that as well.
I can add on to that. That was really insightful from Priscilla. From the few presentations that I've been to too, I also see that as well. The children really resonate with what we're talking about. Even though it is a little long, they do like to pay attention to what is resonating to them, and I feel like a lot of the presentation does speak to them.
Great. So let's see, we have one last question for Chag, and then we'll open it up. I do see a question in the chat from our audience. So Chag, what helps build trust between tribal nations and academic institutions? And then the second part of that is what can damage that trust?
Can you hear me okay?
A little bit louder.
Okay, can you hear me
Oh,
now?
perfect. That's great.
Well, I wanted to give Allison a chance. Allison, you were going to say something as well about your experience as a peer trainer.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that having that cultural context added, I think it makes some of the children feel more comfortable engaging and raising their hand and speaking up. So I just think it's really cool that we can also hold that space for them to be able to share about their experiences with driving.
Yeah, thank you. I think how universities can partner with Native nations is look at the multi-generational, multicultural leadership that you have just in this one project. And in all of the Native nations in this region, you have elders and historians and educators and cultural and political leaders. It's our job at the university to uplift them and honor them and also employ Native people at all stages in this type of work and development. And I like that we do tell the young people when they get their certificates, like you can use that on your resume. There. So it's developing our native youth as well as educating them, equipping them. It's not just a static presentation. And I think as much as the university can do that, then yeah, we're doing a good job. And I do want to say, I've worked in PBS for many years and I've directed documentaries. And so I'm always on the lookout for who has a good narrator voice. And I have to say, Lori Gonzalez and Bobby Wallace, I'm going to reach out to both of you because both of you have such dynamic voices. I mean, everybody does, but I love that part of it too. Like, okay, we have the voices in the Native community. We have all that we need. All the leadership is there. It's the university's responsibility to respectfully tap into that and uplift the original people from this area.
Thank you so much, Chig. Very well said. And Bobby Wallace was with us. He had to drop off, but he was with us earlier, so that's great. We also have Rob is one of our videographers, and he is also in the audience today. So we do have a couple of questions in the chat, and we have a few minutes left. So the first question is for Alexa. What was the greatest challenge you faced when you were developing this program, Alexa?
Oh, that's a good question. I think my greatest challenge is repairing the relationship between tribes and the UC system, specifically UCSD. UCSD has some pretty bad history with our local Kumeyaay people, and tribes are hesitant to work with them. Um, to be specific, NAGPRO is working on getting back some ancestral remains from UCSD, and this continues to be a wound within our community and the UC system. So my biggest challenge is connecting with tribal organizations and repairing that damage that has been done and letting them know that I wouldn't work on a project that was extracting from our community. I only work on projects that are helping our community. And being a local Kumeyaay from the community, I think, yeah, I would say that's my biggest challenge is just, trying to build that bridge to replace the gap there. And yeah, so I hope I answered that. But yeah, that would be my greatest challenge.
Very well said. Yeah. And you are doing an incredible job bridging that gap. So we have another question. It says, in your opinion, how can other prevention programs better support Native youth in understanding traffic safety through the lens of honoring our ancestors and community responsibility? I can actually help with that one since I've run several prevention programs for the county in the past, and I'm very familiar with how they operate. This program is very unique because it does honor the ancestry of our Native youth. And additionally, it also weaves in the prevention efforts and issues that the county is always focusing on. So there's lots of information about substance misuse. There's lots of information about driving impaired, driving distracted. And so they get a lot of other educational materials, but it's presented by their elders and by people from their community. So it's much more likely to be received. So hopefully that helps answer your question. We're getting close to our time. I think we have a minute left to do our big push and sail here. So if you need to schedule a presentation with us, there's our email addresses. You can find us on our socials. You can scan our website to get more information. You can actually enter a form on our website to request that we schedule a training for you. And then when the training is done, a brief survey will pop up. So we hope you'll take a few minutes to complete it for us to help us do better as well, and let us know what your thoughts and impressions are about this presentation and about the project. And I just want to thank you all again for giving us your time today to learn about this program. And thank you so much to our panel one more time for your time and your efforts. And we have a few of our stars that are in our videos that are also on the panel today. So thank you so much for the extra effort that took, and to our wonderful peer trainers. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.